Welcome to Equine Episode Examination, where today we are talking about the new MLP Season 6 episode, On Your Marks. First Kingmark Crusaders episode of the season. Just pretty much this season getting right to the point with a lot of these loose threads from the previous season. So, I'm going to go ahead and talk about that today. I'm joined today, I'm Rain Shadow, by the way. I guess I should say that first. And today I am joined by a couple people here. If you've watched before, you should know who they are.
Yeah, just the usual gang of idiots. Mr. Ben's here.
I'm Jay Smith, and get on your marks, it's time for
Bam. So, if this is your first time watching or joining us or whatever, I'll give you a quick rundown. So, pretty much we're just going to have a big group discussion here on the latest episode of the show, which here is, of course, On Your Marks. Yeah, we're just going to go by and kind of start generally and then work our way into more specifics, more specific items about the show, about the episode, I should say, and we'll work away from there. Of course, I got the three of us here in chat, but we do have the chat on the stream here as well, because of course you are encouraged to participate in the discussion, give us your thoughts, so it isn't just us rambling on about the show, and kind of tell us what you think, or come if you have any comments or any things that you want to discuss that we miss or whatever, make sure you talk about it in the chat here. So without waiting around any longer, you can go ahead and we can get into the episode here, if this will let me advance the slide. There we go. So what's everyone's initial thoughts on the episode?
Apparently it took the CMCs this long to actually have a meeting and realize the issues, so they actually get out and try to help people, because it's been how long since the finale, since they got their cutie marks.
Time isn't a thing in this show.
Yeah, as we'll learn as the season goes on, but we'll get there when we get there.
We're only into our sixth season. We're over 100 episodes, and this is the very first episode where the main six does not make an appearance, even once. Rarity's name dropped a couple of times, but that's about the extent of it. That's actually pretty interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, it really shows how far the show and the characters, and more particularly the CMC themselves have come throughout since the beginning of the series. That we're after all these seasons, every episode of the show has pretty much had at least one of the main six make some sort of appearance. I mean, even in episode 100, they were there. But yeah, I mean, this is the first one where they didn't even show up in the background or anything at all. It was all the CMC and some of the side characters, which was nice. That this group of three can. And even more specifically, Apple Bloom can support their own episode here. I enjoyed this episode. It's nice to see that the show is kind of tackling the loose ends from the previous season pretty much right off the bat, which is something the show's normally done. I mean, you take a look, back at season 3 and how they kind of picked up with Twilight right at the start of season 4. With that, in this season, of course, we picked up right away with Starlight and the baby and Sunburst right in the first episode there, and kind of got all that out of the way here, and now here we are in the I guess technically last episode we kind of got the episode Explore Equestria theme kind of out of the way, and now this one we're already kind of jumping right in and tackling the CMC and kind of the question of where do they go? Where do they go now post Cutie Mark? So not wasting any time this season getting answering those questions, which I like that we're not waiting around to dive back into that. So it was an enjoyable episode. It was a lot different than what I was expecting. I had to watch it a few more times to kind of fully appreciate what it was, because it definitely went a different route than what I was expecting, and that's definitely not a bad thing. And we'll discuss that as we get into the different sections here. But that's kind of what my initial thoughts of it were there. Kind of, it did take a few watch throughs for me to kind of formulate what I think about the episode.
Yeah, I only just seen it the one time, but I was looking through it just on like some of the notes that I was some sorry. Are you yawking me, sir?
No, I'm tired too.
Okay,
I blame you.
Okay, but anyway, I'm kind of agreeing with Tim here. Is that, you know, like the show could have actually had the three of them just easily jump into going into their mission of helping Phillies most in need, regarding and trying to get their own cutie. They do help one at the end. It's more like they actually make sure to explore the transition. And I was kind of laughing at the fact that right at the very beginning, they're still kind of, you know, into old habits die hard, where they're like, well, what do we want to try first? Well, we want to try square dancing. Let's try yodeling. Let's try square dancing after we go yodeling. And then, okay, well, after this, you know, we're, you know, at the end of the day, we'll finally be able to get our cutie marks. And they have to stop. Wait, no, hold up. Wait a second. And then there's, oh, yeah, okay, well, what the hell do we do now? So, it was a nice little, where do we go from here, and sort of exploring on that. Because it is also a bit of a callback to season 4 episode where Apple Bloom was having a nightmare of the CMC possibly breaking apart and drifting apart from each other. And we kind of see that come to fruition a little bit.
Yeah, because it didn't look like they were going to... Because when they first got their cutie marks back in Crusaders of the Lost Mark, and they mentioned they were going to stay together with their new mission, it didn't look like there was going to be any conflict of them breaking up, but this episode sort of provided a little bit of that tension.
It was definitely an interesting choice here for Polsky to be writing this along with Haber, who's also crediting to write it, just based on the episodes that we had the previous seasons. I think the past 2 seasons since season 4. I think Polsky's written. I haven't actually gone in and double checked this, but I know he's written like 4 CMC episodes, which might be the most of anyone in the past couple of seasons. But looking back last season, like Mr. Ben was talking about, we the whole thing of this episode with Apple Bloom here is kind of like some of her nightmares from that previous episode in season 5 kind of playing out in front of her here, in terms of, and that episode, which was the Luna episode there, she was of course afraid of what would happen to the group after they got their cutie marks, or if they got their cutie marks at different times, etc., etc. And so we kind of have that kind of playing out here and kind of exploring what would happen, or how Apple Bloom's kind of taking this in that. And of course that episode in season 5 was written by Josh Haber, and this episode also continues to explore their talent of helping other ponies with cutie mark related problems, whether that means getting a cutie mark or discovering what their cutie mark is, which of course relates back to the episode last season that Dave Polsky wrote with Treble Shoes in that episode too. So it was definitely a good kind of writing duo for this, continuing from what they started the previous season with the group there. Yeah, those were the 4 that he wrote there: Brotherhood of Social, Apple's Most Wanted, For Whom the Sweetie Belle Toils, and Twilight Time there. All of which were, as well as Tim mentioned there, all the showstoppers, all of those episodes and the showstoppers were heavily referenced in the plot of this episode as well.
Say, yeah, that was the ones that he mainly did regarding the CMC. Now, aside from the ones that he did do that the CMC wasn't in regards to, he did also do, let's see, Too Many Pinkie Pies, Keep Calm and Flutter On, Games Ponies Play, as well as Daring Don't, and Rarity Takes Manhattan, I should say. Just naming off a few where the CMC weren't involved, but yeah, you can pretty much almost, aside from the other ones, I think that regarding the CMC that Dave Polsky wasn't involved. Bloom and Gloom was written, like you said, I think by Josh Haber.
Correct.
And that's pretty much the only one that I know. Amy Keating Rogers did Crusaders of the Lost Mark, but that was the only one that she, I think, had an involvement in. But like I said, I'm just going through the wiki right now, just like scrolling up and down, it's just sort of scanning it.
Let's see. Yeah, I will say about this episode. I was like I said in the start. It was a lot different than I was expecting it to be. I was expecting this episode to involve the entire CMC and them trying to pretty much what happened in the first part of the episode, and them trying to find cutie mark problems and whatever, disagreeing about how to do that. But it kind of took a sharp turn after the beginning there, and turned into a episode focused mainly on Apple Bloom rather than the entire CMC, which I think in the end works out better. And they seem to be hinting in this episode, especially at the end, that they want to get more opportunities to focus on each of the CMC as individuals rather than them as a group like we've had in the past. Most CMC episodes have been kind of focused on the group, with a few exceptions here and there, particularly the Luna-based episodes. But I definitely like that. I like the idea of exploring the characters more individually, like they did with Apple Bloom in this episode. So hopefully we get some more. I'd love to see another Scootaloo episode with her this season. Let's see about the callbacks from previous episodes. There's a lot of great callbacks throughout this episode to other things. Let me see where I have them. Most particularly is how they had what Polsky had each of the CMC kind of do to it. So we of course had when they first were deciding to, let's just try to do other stuff we like to do since we don't have to go and find stuff for cutie marks anymore, and they kind of each did stuff that we've seen from in the past. I mean, Scootaloo of course is doing stuff with scootering and also bungee jumping, which is also another reference to a past episode. Sweetie Belle was doing and then Sweetie Belle was doing singing, of course, which is a callback to a couple episodes, including For Whom the Sweetie Belle Toils, which is of course one of her main talents and something she's very interested in, and that the other two aren't good at. And then Apple Bloom, and I reference back to Twilight Time, was wanted to do potions over in Zecora. So it was nice, a little bit of continuity as to how each of them were, what each of their personal interests are, and we see more of that throughout the episode as well. I did think it was interesting how Apple Bloom in the end was interested in doing dancing in this episode, how they had her do that, because of course it's kind of, you go back to Showstoppers, and I was worried they were going to retcon this when they first kind of had her go into the dance studio. Of course, in Showstoppers she was the member of the CMC that was doing the choreography in that. And based on karate, I believe, or something like that.
It was kung fu.
Yeah,
martial arts.
Something that wasn't dancing. So she of course wasn't really good at it. So it was interesting to have her kind of do something with dancing in this, but it's also a nice bit of continuity, because in that episode she really did want to do the dancing in that. So it is something, even if she's not good at it, it's something that she was interested in doing. And of course, thankfully, they kept the continuity that she was pretty clumsy and not terribly good at it as we get to that part in the episode there. She definitely still has the 4 left feet. Yeah, and of course that kind of plays into the whole one of the many kind of morals that we had in the episode about, doing stuff you enjoy, and even, you might always not always be good at doing something, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy trying to do it, or just because you are good at something doesn't mean you're going to enjoy doing it either. So
And J.E. drops out. He probably's having issues again.
I will say that the story kind of, and I'm not using this as a kind of a knock on the episode either. The story is kind of a little all over the place in terms of its focus, which caught me really off guard on the first watch through, and that's kind of why I had to give it a couple more watch throughs to really dig into the episode, because it starts out with the way you're kind of expecting it, with the CMC struggling to find a cutie mark problem, and then from there it goes on to them struggling to find something which they have in common, and then it kind of shifts its focus again to just on Apple Bloom and her trying to find something to do by herself and struggling with that, and then having her struggle with dancing, and then finally coming back together at the end to help the Tender Taps get the kind of overcome his fear and get his cutie mark in the end. So it was definitely, the focus shifted a lot in the episode, and that took a little getting used to for me, because it wasn't singularly focused on, let's just focused on just the CMC getting, trying to get their humors. They kind of had to set it really wanted to have its focus on Apple Bloom, but it kind of had to set that up in the beginning, I guess, which means they kind of had to get her separated from the other three before they could do that, to make it, to have it make any sense.
I'm just yeah, it's actually nice that they took it a bit of a non-linear path on that. Yeah, and it seems a bit of maybe kind of jarring at first, but it's it's pretty nice how they they're taking risks on that, and it's
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's something, it worked out fine in the end, but on the my first watch through, it was just it did catch me by surprise, and had to give it a couple more watches. I think that's something that a lot of people don't do, is they just kind of watch something on the first watch through, and the episode might do something that they're not expecting, or focus on something they weren't expecting, and then they just kind of brush the episode off as, I don't like the episode. I think it is important to kind of give the episode another watch through, to knowing what's actually going to happen, and then try to appreciate it for what they were doing rather than what you wanted them to do. And this was definitely one of those episodes where it was kind of like, I felt that I did have to watch it a couple times, and knowing what was coming, and then seeing where they were going with it. I'm not talking about setting expectations. I'm just saying what you're expecting to happen.
Yeah, like I said, I was expecting the episode to kind of follow a sort of a lesson zero thing, especially when I was like, I made the joke in chat room where like Apple Bloom was like, if we can't find a cutie mark problem, we'll make a cutie mark problem. I was like totally expecting that to happen, and it didn't. We still did get to see a shot of her kind of, going slowly insane in the treehouse, but I mean, we didn't actually see her like destroy half of Ponyville in her misguided attempt to find a problem and solve it. So, I'm kind of glad that they subverted expectations on that.
Yeah,
so
this episode definitely subverted my kind of expectations for the whole, multiple times throughout the entire thing, which was nice. I will say that the kind of the mini conflict that they had between Apple Bloom and the CMC was a little awkwardly pulled off, and wasn't really necessary to really be included in the story. There was just a little plot thread where Apple Bloom had the misunderstanding that Scootaloo wanted them to pretty much do everything separately, rather than just what she meant, a few things, separately here and there on their own. And then in the end, they kind of just quickly brush it off by Scootaloo saying, "Oh no, that's not what I meant." And Apple Bloom's like, "Oops, I misunderstood it," and then they just kind of move it on from there. It was really weird. I mean, it didn't really have to have that little that little subplot. I mean, it's perfectly fine for Apple Bloom to have felt alone and wanting to do stuff with other people without making her think that Scootaloo was saying that they need to do everything separately now. I mean, even if she just thought it wasn't going to be everything, she still could have had that conflict. So I really thought that moment at the end where Scootaloo's like, no, that's not what I meant, and Apple Bloom's like, oh, well, that changes everything. It was just really, I think it was kind of really awkwardly written, and it was just like caught me a little off guard and stuff. I don't think it was really necessary to have that in there.
Oh man, where's this picture? I'm looking for it. It reminds me of something back when I was way back when I was still in school. I don't think it was it high school or was it middle school? I don't even remember. But there was this book that I remember seeing a picture in, where these guys were what was it? One person was going into a restroom, and there were the other two guys out there, and the one guy was standing outside the door. He's like, "Whoa, guys, we can't do everything together." I can't seem to find that picture now, but it wasn't explicit or anything, but still.
I did find it a little interesting that the CMC were having such a hard time finding a cutie mark problem. I mean, obviously cutie mark problems are few and far to come find, but they didn't really even, in the montage that they did where they were looking for a cutie mark problem, they never once, I don't believe, actually encountered a blank flank, which is, one of the main things, helping cutie mark, people who have cutie marks rediscover what their meaning is, and then helping people that ponies that don't have cutie marks to find their cutie mark, which of course they do later in the episode. But it was kind of weird not seeing that blank flank at all in that montage.
It's weird because they always show fillies and colt ultimate black with blank flanks all the time, and I think I mentioned it. Tried to mention it when we watched the episode. Okay, so what happened to all the blank flank background characters we see all the time?
Yeah, I was more talking about fillies their age, but yeah, they did have the cakes, of course, in that one part.
Yeah, and even Mrs. Cake did say, well, I think it is a little early to start worrying about that.
Part of me, when I first saw that scene when I was watching, I was expecting it to be Flurry Heart, although looking back, that wouldn't have made any sense for them to suddenly be in the Crystal Empire. But I was really expecting it to be Flurry Heart that they were talking to. It was nice to see the pumpkin and pound cake again, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it did feel a little awkward in that scene for me that they didn't encounter like a single blank flank that they could have helped. I mean, technically you could argue maybe they just didn't encounter any that wanted help or seemed to need help or cared that they didn't have their cutie marks. So.
See, I do.
Especially when Babs was able to put together a CMC branch up in Manhattan pretty quickly.
See, I do remember how they tried going to Big Macintosh as their first so-called customer of the day. So it was Scootaloo was like perching on Big Mac's head, like not even a little dissatisfied. No.
I do like how this episode kind of had them, of course, had that continuation of their talent being able to help other ponies with their cutie marks, but then it kind of expanded that, saying that, well, maybe they're too good when they kind of help Bulk Biceps solve his problem within just like a minute in the episode there. So that was kind of funny. But I think they've got to be careful about doing that because it kind of undermines their, sort of like how they touched on the episode, it kind of undermines their whole kind of purpose of their cutie marks if there's no one for them to actually help. Let's see. Oh yeah, one of the other things I was happy they brought back is Sweetie Belle being absolutely horrible at making any sort of dresses or anything of fashion related.
Let's say I was chuckling at the lines like Rarity said crocheting is knitting's poor cousin.
I did find it a little interesting that this episode really had Apple Bloom kind of lacking consulting her family at all about it, which is something I found a little interesting. Of course, I mean she's even though she sees them as friends, I believe she's also looking for like friends her age as well. It was kind of interesting that she didn't even really try anything that was Apple family related in terms of doing stuff by herself, but I think that's kind of what sets her apart from the rest of the family. Is she definitely seems a little bit more free spirited than her brother and sister in terms of exploring things outside of the farm to do. Plus, she probably I think she sees that more as work as well, rather than something fun to do like Applejack might see.
They say, yeah, I was glad that at least Sweetie managed to, have some fun with what she was doing, even if she wasn't really good at it. And I do have to admit, I do like how Scootaloo did kind of, go back to her roots in regards to that. It wasn't so much just, what was it, being with her scooter, but at the same time, sort of expanding out into just extreme sports in general with the bungee jumping.
I did like how they have the return of the apple rafting, with Apple Bloom going on a raft again,
yeah.
And also the grape squashing with along with Berry Punch. Yeah. It was a little awkward that they had Apple Bloom not do very well at the grape squashing thing, being that was one of the events of the Sisterhood Social. So she should have had a lot of practice with that. I think one of the coolest things that I liked about the episode is how each of the CMC kind of did during the episode that they enjoyed on their own kind of came into play at the end briefly, when where you have Sweetie Belle quickly crocheting stuff for them to wear for them to perform in, and then Scootaloo changing the backdrop with the bungee jumping as well, kind of making all those things useful for them in the end, kind of like setting up for stories going forward, how each of these things they did individually helped them in the end as a group to help this filly get their cutie mark and overcome their fear of performing. And in the end, like it was like Tim said in chat, even if we didn't kind of encounter many blank flanks early in the episode, we did actually have this episode be about them doing in the end, even if most of the episode strayed away from it. In the end, they did do their kind of their talent at the end and help Tender Taps get his cutie mark there in the end, making it, even though it's a story that focused on Apple Bloom, it still did have that kind of CMC plot thread in the end there. And I definitely like how the end seems to be setting up just for more focused episodes on individual members of the CMC, and allowing them to have more development individually, rather than having to force them to be all together like we have had in the past. So
yeah, it's actually nice to actually see them sort of develop in their own characters. It's nice. I think we need more episodes, kind of like what we did with the what I call the Luna trilogy, where each one of them has like their own growth by themselves and are more developed and fleshed out as individualistic characters. Now, since we've kind of had this one focusing on Apple Bloom, I kind of would like to see, and I would not be surprised if in later, either on in this season or maybe even in later seasons, we'll get similar episodes involving both Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this definitely seemed to be, and we can kind of move on to character discussion now, unless anyone else has anything specifically about the story. Because we're kind of naturally flowing into that now anyway. Yeah, I mean, this like I said, this definitely seemed to be kind of the first episode of CMC episodes, maybe this season, that are going to focus on a single member of the CMC. So maybe hopefully, I would love to get an episode focused on Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo later in the season, with this one being the episode that focused on Apple Bloom.
I can easily see why they actually chose Apple Bloom for this particular episode as opposed to the other two, though. And that's only because of the fact that for all we know in regards to like their own individual lives, Scootaloo, as far as we know, is an only child. She doesn't have any natural siblings that we know of.
I feel like you're reading off of my notes somehow. Go ahead. This is exactly what I was going to say. Keep going.
Yeah, but and even though Sweetie Belle has her own sister, she doesn't stay with Rarity all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So she's, obviously has her own, she only has her own time to be together. But Apple Bloom herself, I mean, she's got her sister, her brother, her grandmother. She's always constantly spending time with her friends. So she's never really known, what it's like to actually have a period of solitude of her own, where she's actually doing something by herself without company of her other friends.
Yeah, so. Exactly. I mean, the other two are pretty independent already, and that is shown very well in this episode when they're the two that are able to go say, yep, let's go off and do stuff of our own. See ya. Well, Apple Bloom, of course, struggles with this because, just like you said, I mean, she was pretty much the kind of like the original humor crusader, and she's the one that brought the other two together, all the way back in season 1, and that episode. And she was the one with the original cutie mark problem that felt alone in that episode because of that. And of course, just like you said, with her being an Apple and being a part of this really tight-knit family that does everything together and are really friends and stuff like that, as well as family, to try and go out and do something on her own is something that's really foreign to her, that the other two CMC might not be as foreign to them. And she's also kind of the she's more or less the leader of the Cutie Mark Crusader, and she's always the one that worries the most as well, as we see in this episode. Well, Sweetie Belle is usually more kind of like the rock or the voice of reason in it, and Scootaloo is more of the optimist and kind of the one that generates a lot of the ideas, as we've seen in the past, where she kind of stands under the light bulb and gets the idea. So it fit well with that dynamic we have in the group already, with Apple Bloom not only fearing being alone after being with other people, her other ponies, her entire life, where she's also the leader of this group, and to kind of see it seemingly to her breaking apart here would definitely probably worry her the most. I did like how this episode, and I'm hoping future CMC, episodes that focus individually on them in the future, really did highlight how different the three of them are. Obviously, they're really close friends, but most of the stuff that we've seen them, and the whole reason they're together, is because of their flankness. And that's really the only reason they came together at all, was because they had this in common. of being blank flanks. Otherwise, they're very different ponies. As we've seen in this episode, with they have very different goals of what they like to do, and none of them really have something that they all want to do together other than crusading. So it was a nice little kind of thing for them to explore in this episode, that hey, now that they have their cutie marks, I mean, that's kind of the one thing that tied this group together, and something that Apple Bloom was already worrying about previously, and now their differences in this episode kind of seemingly pulling them apart. In a way, they're kind of like the opposite main six, where the main six were brought together as all the main six are very different ponies who were brought together by their cutie marks, where the CMC were brought together by their lack of cutie marks. So kind of seeing that kind of come undone and explored in this episode was nice.
I'm sorry, not meaning to break off from the discussion here, but I always get the mental image that whenever someone mentions that they're going off crusading, I just have the mental image of them just going off to the Middle East in like full period armor and shit. I'm sorry. Anyway,
see what else. Oh yeah, like I believe I mentioned this earlier, but I'll say it again. I did like how we saw so many of their talents and their likes come back into play for each of them in this episode from the entire season. With Scootaloo being obviously very good on her scooter. Sweetie Belle uses a ton of levitation spells in this episode, which of course, going back to Twilight time, was something that Twilight was trying to teach her how to do, and she was kind of struggling to learn magic in that episode. And of course, from that same episode, Apple Bloom going over to Zeccora's to make potion as well, and actually blooming some apples, it looked like. So it was a nice little play on her name there. But it was nice after seeing. I think that's one of my favorite things about this episode, is kind of how it explored them as individuals, because it's a nice kind of counterbalance to the last episode we saw. The last episode was all about them as a group, and they all got their cutie marks at the same time, and they all have the talent of helping others with cutie mark problems, and of course all of their cutie marks look very similar. But this episode it started to explore them as individuals, and their other talents that they have, and other interests that they have individually versus a group, kind of showing us that they all got the same cutie mark, but those cutie marks are a little bit different, and they each do have these sub talents that are shown on their cutie mark as well, because each of them is a little bit different. With Sweetie Belle has a microphone on it, Scootaloo has the lightning bolt on it, so they are a little bit different. And so I like how this episode focused on that difference, kind of counterbalancing the last episode we saw of them in season 5.
And I do have to admit, I do like how their cutie marks do sort of they encompass their actual talent of being able to help others in need, but at the same time they also encompass their original talent of what they were originally good at. So they're still able to remain true to themselves while remaining true to their whatchamacallit, their shared destiny, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and that's kind of like where all the callbacks to Showstoppers came in, where each of them kind of have. Showstoppers was really the first episode that showed us each of their individual talents, but then kind of had each of them do each other's talents. So Apple Bloom was kind of trying to do the coordination of that Scootaloo had. Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle was trying to design the sets, while Apple Bloom kind of had a little bit more of an eye for that kind of stuff. And then of course Scootaloo was trying to of course sing, when of course that's more Sweetie Belle's talent. So nice callbacks to those.
To say, I know I just posted the comic a little earlier in the chat room, but I was kind of laughing over the fact that they had Apple Bloom and Scootaloo kind of being able to try to sing with Sweetie, and they're just kind of getting to the points where Sweetie Belle just breaks her own baton in frustration with her magic. Mm-hmm. But then Apple Bloom later goes on and basically sings a solo by herself, and actually sounds pretty damn good. And
Yeah, that's kind of a point I wanted to make in the music section, where there's a difference between songs which are not in universe and stuff like that where they're in universe. Sweetie Belle is the only one of the CMC that can really sing that well. The other two, especially Scootaloo, isn't good. And I was happy to see that they brought that back, especially with Scootaloo not being able to sing when they were trying to sing with Sweetie Belle there, because they know even though in the songs in the show they can sing, those songs aren't actually taking place in universe. So yeah, even though Apple Bloom sings a beautiful song later in the episode, that song isn't actually being sung by her in universe. That's just something we're seeing as viewers.
See, I still want to see someone. I remember back when earlier on in the early seasons, whenever Sweetie Belle was actually singing, it wasn't Sweetie Belle, it was actually Apple Bloom's voice actor, Michelle Kraber. And I kind of wanted to see someone commission a pic where we saw a picture of Sweetie Belle on stage singing, but it was actually not her singing, it was actually Apple Bloom backstage singing for her, and Sweetie Belle was just lip syncing. But I don't think that really applies anymore, because I think hasn't Claire Corlett actually sung like directly for Sweetie Belle for like the past
Sweetie Belle really hasn't had any solo songs since that, and whenever they've been singing as a trio now, each of their voice actors will each sing for their individual ponies. So yeah, she does sing for Sweetie Belle, including in that little moment in this episode here. And yeah, Tim, most songs are, of course, there's exceptions, like obviously the song in Showstoppers was actually more or less taking place in universe, and that's why Scootaloo was not. Well, it was a good performance. She wasn't singing very much on key there. Yeah, I was saying on a different note from the CMC, it was nice actually seeing Mare actually doing mirror related things, sort of like like she still does have a place in the town, even with Princess Twilight living there, because Twilight really has no want or need to deal with laws or ordinances or all these other politics related things in running the town. So it isn't like Mare's been replaced by Twilight or something. So it was nice kind of seeing that on screen and having her, being very busy dealing with all these town related things there. Yeah, chewing gum. That's a great talent which you can apply to many jobs. We also saw that older pony as well in there, the one that was from Hearts and Hooves Day, that was too old. And I believe he was also the same one that was in Brotherhood Social as well there. He made an appearance with the doctor.
Wasn't his name Mr. Waddle or something like that?
I have no idea if he actually has an official name. I'm not sure what his fan name is. So.
And it's not really that big of a deal. Nice to have seen Treehugger make a return, though, even if it was in a cameo.
I never thought I would see a nude model in this show.
I love how it was
it's okay. Everyone's always nude, so even Phillies can come in and do this. So
yeah, but to say it's kind of like a subtle ironic gag.
Yeah, I think that was the joke. So I was just like, oh my gosh.
And of course, in that scene, we got all the background. We got the Andy Warhol, and you got the Leo da Vinci. You got the Picasso background ponies in that scene too.
Yep, Salvador Dali, Pablo Picasso, Andy Warhol, and Leonardo da Vinci were the 4 background ponies that were painting at that one there. So
We also had a small cameo during the song of Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon kind of working together in the background with another pony there. So it was just like a little minor character continuity that she's kind of working better with others now, and obviously has rekindled her friendship with Silver Spoon as well since the last Cutie Mark Crusader episode. Hoping we get an episode this season with her, but it was nice having that kind of little bit of continuity in the background from that. We also got to see everyone's favorite pony, Twist, as well.
Let's see. I noticed that one pair of ponies during the recital and the finale were basically a shout out to Dirty Dancing, and Tender Chaps I think even also had some moves from Singing in the Rain.
See, we also saw Rose and Dr. Hooves as well in the audience.
So yeah, Octavia sitting there in the audience as well was a nice little unexpected surprise.
We'll say, going back to the scene at the schoolhouse during the song, Apple Bloom does have looks like she can make pies pretty well.
Yeah.
She seems to have a nice talent for that.
It runs in the Apple family, I guess.
Let's see. Give me one second.
I think she, based on that in previous episodes, I think she does have a skills like baking and designing skills as well as we saw in Showstoppers.
It's actually kind of interesting because if you'll notice during the pie breaking or when she's trying out baking, when Diamond Tiara, Silver Spoon, and another filly are like there in the background. You'll notice that Silver Spoon was the one who seems to be taking the lead with her, showing baking the pie, and DT and the other filly only being shown tasting it. Now, it might seem a little odd considering that you'd expect Diamond Tiara to still be in the lead, but Silver Spoon, considering her name, might be kind of like where Diamond Tiara's cutie mark isn't the only one that you would think it might be. Or not Diamond Tiara, but like the Cutie Mark Crusaders, where you wouldn't think that her cutie mark would be just for one thing. I mean, she might have a hidden talent with baking as well. So
definitely, because I think that was kind of one of the important things that last season kind of introduced was the concept of looking further into the cutie marks and kind of the double meanings that they might have, sort of like with Treble Shoes. Or with that, or even Diamond Tiara's cutie mark in that previous CMC episode as well. And of course, we got to see, even though it was a fleeting moment that was quickly resolved, we did get to see kind of Apple Bloom go a little insane as well, have a little crazy moment in the clubhouse there.
I'd say with all those doodles of like failed stuff to do. Just covering that entire wall and part of the ceiling, if I'm not mistaken.
I think, well, I guess one of the other things that surprised me is we kind of get introduced to a new kind of filly character about, more than halfway through the episode there, where we kind of again takes a kind of sudden turn in what it's focusing on, with Tender Taps there. So, what everyone think of Tender Taps?
First initial thought was new boyfriend possible.
Yeah.
Totally not shipping.
Yeah.
I will just say though, even though she was very, very clumsy, Apple Bloom really did get into that dancing though in that scene, like the full on tango dancing there. Yeah, it was nice having. I will say that it was nice having him be a male colt like that. But yeah, it was nice to have him having a new kind of blank flake included. He didn't have a ton of screen time, so I guess it's hard to really discuss him as a character, but it was nice having another blank flank for them to find to help out there. And kind of going through the whole thing of being kind of too nervous to perform in front of a group, sort of like how Fluttershy is. But I did like how he Apple Bloom did work with him through to that, and it really put her own herself aside during that scene to actually kind of help him get the courage to find his mark there. It'd be cool to see more of him in the future, I guess.
Kind of hope we do, actually.
It was kind of funny how in the middle of the episode there, how he's starting to talk about how he what his interests are and about his cutie mark, and Apple Bloom just kind of is so depressed that she just kind of shoves it off to the side. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll see you later. And of course it comes back later in the episode where, Sweetabelle's, or Scootaloo's like, he wouldn't by chance not happen to have a cutie mark, would he? And it finally clicks with her like, oh shit, I fucked that up. Anything else relating to the characters and the characterization in the episode that anyone has to say?
Say, I can't think of anything.
I think between the story and the character discussion, I got most of the things I had wanted to say out of the way here. Yeah, I mean, it really was. I mean, there was a lot of characters in it, but most of them had fleeting appearances. It really focused really a lot on Apple Bloom. And in the end, that makes sense. It's not what I was expecting from this episode, but it made sense for where they went with it, and hopefully where they're going in the future here. It kind of makes me think that they are kind of going this way to having these individual episodes with the CMC, just because Josh Haber was credited as a writer for this, and being the story editor, I'm assuming that that's might be one of the things that he's wanting to do when this in this season is kind of explore them individually, kind of setting up for that in this episode here. Okay, we can move on, and next section is the voice acting here. So,
where did I see that here? Can I just point out the fact that we actually got a brand new voice actor specifically for the the new cult?
Yeah, and if I forget
it's
who
also
says that.
even an illiterate name. Let's say it's also an illiterate name, Travis Turner.
Ooh.
So,
Travis, are you serious? Travis Turner played Tender Taps?
Yep.
Oh my god. It's a match made in heaven.
Double alliteration all across the sky.
That could also probably be a tongue twister. Travis Turner voice Tender Tap. See, I couldn't do it.
I did like how we had Sweetie Belle having some more Squeaky Belle in this episode as well. I think one of my favorite things with her in this episode was her Rarity impersonation she was doing about crocheting is knitting's younger cousin, or I forget exactly what it was, in that Rarity accent, and then she shouts, "But I loved it!" like really loudly, and that's like it's such something that like Rarity would say, and it's just kind of funny. Like you can really see like how she is her Rarity's sister when she screams that, because that sudden excitement is definitely something that's very Rarity-esque.
See, it hasn't even been a week since we've had the bloody episode, and someone already made a plushie of him.
Of course.
This fandom works fast, man.
And yeah, I mean, and Michelle, of course, also did a fantastic job. Being that this episode, of course, focused more on Apple Bloom. There, it was great hearing all three of their voices again. And of course, Michelle did a great job throughout, taking Apple Bloom through all the different emotions, and of course in the song. So
top notch as always. So, because she was the one who voiced, what was her name? Bloody hell, I just had it. Was a Huffer Steps. So, she was the dancing instructor as well. So.
Yep, it's a good point, Tim. It's nice, and it's nice to see them, continuing to kind of grow them as characters as well in relation to that.
But see, yeah, I know we did have a little bit of squeaky bow with the voice cracking, but is it just me, or like all the CMC's voices getting just subtly but notably deeper?
Well, I mean, that's been happening like every single season.
Yeah.
For it, I mean, that's just part of growing up. It is something that's hard. It is hard to know. They do a good job of matching the same voices as before, and it's really hard to notice unless you go back after watching this and watch a season 1 episode. But even then, a lot of the characters' voices have changed over time a little bit as the actors settle into their roles and stuff. I mean, Applejack, of the main 6, Applejack is probably the one that's changed, I would say, the most in terms of her voice acting. Her voice has gotten a lot deeper over the seasons, where and the first one it was definitely a lot higher, a lot closer to Rainbow Dash's voice. So Ashley Ball has kind of brought that down a little bit to kind of farther separate that voice from her Rainbow Dash voice there.
Let's see, with Twilight, I mean, if you go back and you listen to Tara Strong's voice on season 1, I mean, Tara Strong's Twilight voice is like completely indistinguishable from like Princess Clara from Drawn Together. But even now, like in the current episodes with like even from season 6, I mean, you can definitely tell there's a notable difference. I mean, it's still very similar, but you can obviously tell a marked change from the later seasons, from the earlier ones, even with Tara Strong. So. And there was a couple instances when Twilight was raising her voice where it's like, okay, Twilight, your Timmy Turner's showing.
Oh yeah, she does get that kind of higher pitched Timmy voice when she's ever excited or yelling. Oh yeah, we got some extended lines from Bulk Biceps too in this episode there.
Yeah.
Kind of have a little character backstory going for him, with him struggling with his cutie mark there. Remember in the Castle Sweet Castle episode where he was working at the spa there. I think he's having some trouble finding exactly what he wants to do, that they kind of touched on in this episode, where I've already lifted all the weights. What does my cutie mark mean now? And so I think it looks like he's been trying to do other things, from flying in the Wonderbolts to he flew, of course, in the relay for the Equestria Games, and then he was working at that spa that one time, giving Spike that amazing back massage in that episode. So I think he's kind of been struggling to find exactly what he means. So I guess in that way he was a good choice for them to use in this episode, for them to quickly solve his issue. I did like the kind of the the secondary option they gave him of actually being kind of someone who teaches other people to lift weights, because I mean that obviously would be a good talent and job for him to have, would be some sort of personal trainer. So I think they set him up pretty well in this episode.
I have to admit, I'm a little upset that not one of the CMC actually. They had a perfect chance to just, insert that line in there. But at the same time, I'm glad that they didn't, because that would have just been inserting an internet meme into something like that. That would have just been kind of.
Pony doesn't use internet memes; they create them.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then he uses the internet memes they create.
Yeah.
It's the big circle of meme. So, anything else for the voice acting? Okay, we can move on to the next part, which is the humor of this episode. So, what does everyone have to say about the humor?
There was a few. It wasn't quite as outstanding as some of the other ones, but there's a few of the more subtler ones. Like, for example, another subtle pun here. When we were talking about with Treehugger doing the sort of nude modeling, even though she wasn't, most ponies don't wear clothes anyway. That second position that she was taking while she was modeling, in yoga, that position is known as the tree pose.
That's some subtle humor right there.
So, we say I also have to laugh at the fact that Tender Taps, right after their initial meeting, right there. I mean, he was able to do that really awesome dance where he was able to do that singing in the rain where he flips off the wall and actually lands with a split. But then they had that sad initial meeting, and then he just sort of just tap dances off the screen with
that tap dancing animation was just so ridiculously funny.
I just have it in my head, Kane, that's just his normal means of locomotion from just getting from point A to point B. It's just tap dancing everywhere, with his just constantly in that blurry motion, just complete with Hamsar's walking sound effect in my head. I kind of want to go back and take that episode, download it, and then just doctor in Hamsar's walking effect just for that one scene.
Yeah, I would say this episode had a lot of butts in it. That's enough.
Yeah.
The whole cold open is let's just stare at our butts.
Let's say, give me 1 second here. Right. Actually, I have to check the actual URLs to make sure I'm not posting the same damn one in the chat room again.
It's gonna happen.
I'm trying to make sure it doesn't.
Look at our butts. Our butts
Let's
are
say,
amazing.
Let's say, where is it? Here we go. Here it is. Would have been nice if we had a bit of a callback to that one.
To shipping. I did like the in the beginning. I like the yodeling. That was.
Scootaloo sounded very
yodeling.
manly when she tried doing that.
So to have a balloon.
So,
They should have tried getting RT.
I did like the whole thing of it's kind of a lampshade where they're like, we need to. Apple has that big map, and we need to go all around Equestria and search for cutie mark problems. It was just like they're gonna get their own cutie mark map now.
Let's say,
And oh my god, that notation that Sweetie Belle was singing that they showed was just some very complex notation there.
Yes.
And then of course her breaking the baton when the other two couldn't sing it.
Let's say, yeah, I love how the Sweetie Belle's like, it's just a simple harmony, but then when they actually look at the sheet music, it ain't so simple, actually. I love how that when Bulk was able to just squeeze his entire bulk into the clubhouse, and he smashes through the floor twice. and then just simply when we first see him, the playground ride he's on is pushed all the way into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So.
that was funny that he's riding on one of those little tiny like horse things that they have at playgrounds, and it's just not even moving at all. He's just sitting there. Like, oh yeah, it's convenient because I have a cutie mark problem, and I feel like the solution is staring at me right in the face. Yeah, I mean, this wasn't really a comedy episode like the previous episode or even the premiere. This was a lot more character focused, especially on Apple Bloom. I did like it. I always love the awkward coughing that they have in the silence, like at the end when Tenderhooves is struggling to get onto the stage and it's just completely silent. You just hear in the background awkward coughing like that always gets me.
To say, of course, we got that one instance like right there near the end where after he gets his cutie mark, Tender taps like just shows off his butt to just like two random passerbys as they walk past. Mm-hmm. You can just imagine him being like, "Look at my butt! Look at it!
Look at it!"
The entire opening scene was that.
See, anything else for the humor?
Let's see. Yeah, I remember Zikora's expression wasn't really that. She wasn't too thrilled when, Sweetie Belle and Scoot kind of sort of blew up part of her hut.
Her new redesigned and reanimated hut too.
Yeah.
So,
fuck,
I didn't mean to slide that over there.
Mention when we get to animation visuals.
Let's see, anything else for the humor?
I really can't think of much. I mean, that was actually in the episode itself. I mean, all I've got really to go off of on some of the humor is just some of the stuff that others have made, like this.
That yodeling.
Say there was a animated thing here. It's just like a little. It's not really that funny, but where is it here? Another edited screen cap on here. Let me just go ahead. Damn it! Come on. Nope. I was almost about to post the same one. Almost, but I caught myself.
That was close. And then he posts the same one anyway.
Oh, I'm actually just going to go back. I'm just going to... Since copy and paste doesn't seem to want to work, I'll just go in and I'll just edit the actual URL myself.
It's a
manually.
404 not found.
It's 404 not found, huh? Well,
you said it was an animated image, right?
Yeah.
You probably have to change JPG to GIF then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. Try that.
That's better.
Yeah. So is it still a bit of a mess up, but not as bad as it usually is?
You just messed up in a different way, trying to not mess up the previous way. Oh, good old copy paste. Let's see. So I think we can move on from the humor. I mean, like, it wasn't like last week's episode where there's a lot of humor. This is a lot more kind of a little more serious episode. Although the whole Apple Bloom freaking out part was pretty funny, in a different kind of way. Had some great faces there. So let's go to the animation, and the visuals. I think the first thing I wanted to point out, since I have it up right here, was what Jay had mentioned a couple minutes ago. There was in Zecora, relation to Zecora's hut is the redesign it got. So much like you might have saw in season 5, someone had an image that compared. They also redesigned Fluttershy's hut, the exterior of that. And so they kind of had the old hut and the new hut and just the amount of more detail and shading and everything that was in the background. And they did the same with Zecora's hut here and gave it a slightly new design as well, and in addition to that. So here is the, I'll put up the picture here first. This is the old design. This is actually from season 4, I believe. Yeah, this is season 4, episode 15. So this is from Philly Vanilli. In season 4, so just a couple seasons ago, and this was the design for it here, for her hut. Now, here, let me put up the current design here. Actually, I can probably duplicate this and put that in a new window. Then I can switch between them here. That'll help. Bam. Okay, so let me do that and scale. There we go. Okay. Let me get the right image in here. There we go. That's why I was having problems. Okay. So here's that one. So there's the old one, and here's the new design of the of her hut here. I mean, just look at that difference. I mean, it's a lot more like a painting rather than just a kind of a more cartoony flash drawing like the original one was. So the tree itself looks a lot different. It has like a little missing part in the top there. The basic design is still there, but just look at that difference there, and just the shading and the lighting and just the amount of colors on the screen there. It's amazing. They've really been kind of, I think the past couple seasons, that's one of the things they've really been doing, is focusing on kind of upping the backgrounds and redoing a lot of the backgrounds in the show. Maybe in an effort to get them ready for the movie as well. So, but kind of redesigning a lot of these locations and making them look a ton better. It's amazing how much that the change here between Zecora's hut there. It's even more of a change than Fluttershy's cottage was from last season. Oh no, I'm sure these things are made. This one here is probably made in Illustrator or something like that. Since it's just a background, so it's not like it's an animated or moving asset like the characters are. So you can make those in more traditional means. So yeah, that's the first thing I wanted to point out here with the visuals, because that was something that I had seen a comparison posted on Reddit, and I'm like, holy crap, because I didn't even realize that when I watched it. But yeah, they've been definitely working on a lot more detail and a lot of the backgrounds. I mean, even just if you pull up the comparison image of the Fluttershy's cottage and just the amount of different detail they have in it, it's amazing. I'd say definitely the benefit of the show going on as long as it has. One of the other designs I really liked here was Sweetie Belle's little cowgirl outfit here with the blue sky and the stars on it. I really like the design of that there.
Say, have to admit, I really like the shading with the light, especially like right here when they have like the Cutie Mark Crusader Clubhouse going on there, when they're actually walking in on Apple Bloom, practically having that little bit of a breakdown there. Just the way that the light shines on both Apple Bloom and like the back of Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo right there.
That little nod that Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo do after that. It's so funny. I forgot to mention that in the previous section there. It's like, oh. That's great. We also have a callback to that poster of from the previous seasons of all the cutie marks that they had gotten there. Here it is. This poster they have on the wall here from all the way back from, I believe that was from season 1, the poster of all the things that they wanted to try. So it was a nice little callback to see that again here. I really like those drawings, and of course you have all those drawings on the wall throughout the episode that Apple Bloom has made. But then of course we get to the song here. There it is. Ah, gosh, VLC. Oh, damn it! Go back. There we go, and you got her. This looks like something that I would draw. I'm horrible. I'm horrible at drawing. So here you got Apple Bloom drawing her tree hugger here with the 4 really weird looking feet on it, which is that's pretty much how I draw. Yeah,
so yeah,
Rubberball is definitely the first meme of the season there. And yeah, there's that tree yoga pose in the background there. Look at some of the. I do like the some of the other drawings here. Like you can see the Andy Warhol parody one on the side there of Tree Hugger, and you got all the other, like J.E. mentioned earlier, all the other artist kind of cameos here. Let me see.
Yeah,
we
like
go.
we got Andy Warhol, Salvador Dali, Pablo Picasso, and
you can
Leonardo
see them on the
da
left
Vinci
and
in
the right
background.
here, with the really long legs and the and her melting over the tree branch. You know, like the parody of the clock, and his.
Yeah.
And of course you got the really Picasso-esque one on the left here, with like both a front view and a side view in the same pictures. Some great artwork parodies there as well. And you got a couple others in the background and stuff as well. Yeah, here's the Andy Warhol one here with the soup can. Although it looks like it's apple soup. It definitely looks like an apple on the label, not a tomato. The highest of all the horses. That was probably the most unexpected cameo in this entire episode, was Tree Hugger. at least for me.
Let's say, yeah, I honestly wasn't expecting her to have like a cameo at all. But this is, considering how Tree Hugger is, this is, exactly the sort of thing she would be doing. So
Here's this shot too. First off, how does this bridge work? It doesn't seem to be a very ergonomic bridge, starting off at like a 90-degree angle on either side. But also because the great background here and the shading, and you got the moving lines in the water as it animates, and even a little bit of lens flare there in the shot, in the shadows and Apple Bloom. That's a really nice looking shot here as well. Oh, let me find this next one here. Because there's another one that. forget when. No, this was earlier. This was earlier in the episode. Oh yeah, Apple Bloom just kind of gets launched off the back of the raft in that 1.2 in the middle of the song. Oh, I found that pretty funny. Oh, I did like the staging in this part of the song here, as at the beginning, as Apple Bloom is looking out the window. Let me get to the right part here. Here we go. The staging is she's looking out the window and kind of seeing Scootaloo and Sweetie Belle kind of going separate ways there. That was just a nice little visual metaphor of that part of the song there that I liked. This was one of the storyboarders on this was Ward. I forget his last name, but this was his first episode that he had storyboarded. So I believe he storyboarded the song as well. So I think he did a good job as that as well, along with his storyboarding partner in this episode, which was Hannah Lee, who I think has been on the series for a while. Ward Jenkins, that's who it was. Oh yeah, and I got sidetracked there. I was trying to find something completely different. Just rewind here. Oh, I accidentally paused here, but here's that crazy notation I was talking about earlier. Just some simple notation there. Nothing too complicated. Hey, and then here's this smile that Sweetie Belle has here as they're trying to sing it is ridiculously adorable. Right before she, of course, she breaks her baton. Yeah, I think the visuals of the song and the kind of the storyboarding of the song was well done. Nothing too over the top, but it was visually interesting, and of course I had all those kind of visual gags and stuff during it as well, while complimenting the song. But it never got too. It wasn't like one of those songs that where the visuals got very abstract. It kept it much more realistic. Unlike something like, for an example, like Bab's Seed, which has, of course, very abstract visuals during it. So they were able to keep it interesting and also use the song to kind of move the story forward and show all these different things that Apple Bloom is trying and failing at. So, the rafting, the baking, the drawing, and all this other stuff during the song. So it also was able to help move the song forward by keeping the visuals realistic and story related. So anything else on the visuals?
Really can't think of anything that we've already gone over.
Okay. So next we get to the first song of the first real song of the season here with Out on My Own here, which is the first Apple Bloom solo song of the series here. Which is surprising, given Michelle voices Apple Bloom, but her first solo song 100% with just Apple Bloom. So it's so smooth. Hey, I'm not that angry in the morning.
I'm sorry.
Me in the morning is more like Sweetie Belle at the end of singing that 1,000 bottles of beer on the wall sign when she just splats down and wants to go back to sleep. But yeah, this song was just a beautiful song. Very obviously, being the character that's singing it, it's a lot more of a country song. Very slow, kind of deliberate tempo to it. I really liked how it was laid out. It was very It was a very kind of somber, slower song, of course, matching how Apple Bloom is feeling there. And it started out really simple with just the guitar and her singing at the beginning, and then it kind of slowly works more instrumentation into it. First adding some strings and then some woodwinds that take us to the end. But each of these additions is done very subtly through it, so you don't always really notice that they're being added, and kind of build the emotion of the song going to the end, while still keeping it simple and sad, and not picking up the tempo or the instrumentation too much, so it changes the emotion of the song. It does keep that emotion from Apple Bloom throughout it. It's kind of like the beginning of the song is actually very, very similar in sounding to What More Is Out There from the Friendship Games, which also that song also starts out with with that kind of simple, very similar guitar start to it. But that song takes a different route, and it gets a lot more, quickly builds a lot more of like a full orchestration and full instrumentation as the song goes on, as Saitwai gets a lot more motivated as that song. Because that song is all about kind of building her motivation and going into her dreams and stuff like that, where this one stays very slow and sad and deliberate throughout the entire song, as Apple just throughout the entire thing just continues to find something to struggle what she's doing. She's not actually changing an emotional state here. We're just kind of, again, just seeing her very, very sad throughout the entirety of the song here. I guess I can probably actually play the song as well. Let me pull it up here. So here's that very kind of slow start here with just the guitar.
I never imagined myself out on my own, trying to find out what's next for me. The cutie mark crusaders have always been my home. Maybe now there's more that I could be. I guess as time
There's
goes
the strings come in a little bit there.
every pony has to go out on their
As well as some
own.
additional harmonies
Maybe someday
for the Apple Bloom's
I'll
vocals.
have to try something new that's just for me, a little something that could be just my own, and I won't feel so left behind. We used to say that we'd be
And there's the
always side
woodwinds.
by side. Maybe things are changing and this could mean goodbye. I always thought our friendship was all I'd ever need. We've always been crusading. What else is there for me? I guess as time goes by, every pony has to go out on their own. And maybe someday I'll have to try something new that's just for me, a little something that could be just my own, and I won't feel so left behind.
It's a really beautiful song. Definitely a song, at least with the lyrics, that I can relate to in terms of having to go out and start doing stuff by yourself or on your own after coming out of something like for me coming out of college, when you're around a lot of other people and a lot of your friends from all around for 4 years or so, and having fun with that, and then kind of having to leave college and kind of go out on your own into the real world there and be apart from those kind of friends. So that's something that I can really, that song and how Apple Bloom's feeling is something I can really relate to, and it's definitely one of the things that I forgot to mention in the story section in terms of just the relatability of kind of what Apple Bloom's going through. Obviously not in the same kind of context, but in the same kind of having to go out and maybe do stuff on your own by yourself when maybe you're used to being around other people or having,
It is
fun
actually
with
kind
others.
of interesting because I felt that same way when I first left, when I was moving out here to the Midwest. Because, like I mentioned before in chat, I was generally almost always a loner, generally very, with sort of socially withdrawn. But I only really started opening up and becoming, more of a social person in high school when I was like in freshman and sophomore year, especially my sophomore year. And I made quite a lot of really close friends out in Northern Virginia. But then I had to move out here to the Midwest, and I left everything behind. I left all my friends behind. I left my school behind, and it felt kind of upsetting, because for the first time in my life, I actually had I did have some some close friends when I was growing up, but I had to move out to Nebraska, and I moved back, but I managed to move back. But then I moved up to Northern Virginia, and I left them behind, and then I got like some really close friends where I actually was able to like go out and spend time with them, like going to the movies in the mall, and we would actually have sleepovers and stuff. And that was like the first time I actually did that, was with like my friends. And then leaving those behind was just it was kind of hard, really, to start all over again. But anyhow.
No, definitely, and I think it's really something that what this episode's message and plot kind of turned out, what it turned out to be, is something that's a lot is really relatable to a lot of I think really relatable to a large group of people. So it was a good thing to explore in the show. Yeah, I'm hoping Scoodley gets a song too. I'd like to hear more Madeline Peters singing. That isn't that a solo that isn't purposely off tune for the entire song. So yeah, that's our first song of the season. Only, well, I guess technically 4 episodes in, but three episodes in, counting the first one as a 2-parter there. So at least we didn't have to wait too long in this season for that song. Hopefully we'll have quite a bit this season as well, because it's always great to have songs. Let's see. So I guess we can move on from the song, unless anyone has anything else to say about the song itself. I'll wait for a response while I try and find the right application there, so I can advance the slide. Yeah, it was a really, really good song, and a very emotional song. That as well. I mean, with some just great vocals by Michelle there. So, going to the score, this episode really had a lot to offer musically. Definitely a lot more than the previous episode. So, we did get a lot of good score in this. So we can let me go ahead and start this off here with the first track from the beginning. Really, I guess kind of want to get to the big screen here, because I do want to fast forward, because there's just one for this track that I liked a lot. So here's the here's the end of that first part there, with this little country music here, followed by the yodeling. We got some country yodeling there. And then one thing this episode did that I really liked was it brought back a lot of that classic CMC music that we haven't heard from a while. So this is the first one, this little tiny track here, which is a track that we've heard in a couple episodes recently for them. I think I'm pretty sure we heard it in Some Pony to Watch Over Me, and maybe another couple episodes. But this is just a really short track here, with some of their newer music. That's something a lot of the CMC music had back in season 1, was just a lot of the guitar and the synths and the drums was kind of the instrumentation that we got. So Let's see. And we can go to this next track here, which was one of my favorite from the episode, which was bringing back kind of that classic thing. So if we go back to season 1 here, so let me pull up the season 1 score. This is the pretty much the quintessential Cutie Mark Crusaders theme. Everyone knows this theme. This was from let's see, this I forget what episode this might have been from Showstoppers, whatever episode 18 was. I think that was Showstoppers. It was either that or the Rain Boom episode. But this was kind of like this very long track. This is really what you think of when you think of Cutie Mark Crusaders score. So this has, a lot of guitar and synths in it. This is the kind of score that we had a lot more of in the first seasons of the show, before the score kind of drifted a little bit more orchestrated and orchestral for most of it. So we got the nice little synth there on top. Okay, so that goes on for another 2 minutes. That was a long montage, but they have a little shorter version of that montage in this, which is a nice kind of parallel to this in that previous episode, where in that one they're trying all these different things to find their cutie marks, but in this one they're trying all these things to try and help other people with their cutie marks. And so very nicely, Wim Anderson made a new kind of Cutie Mark Crusader little track here for that montage as well. So the whole scene is a nice really big callback to that episode. So here's this newer one that uses that similar instrumentation that we don't really hear a lot in the show that often. So that was the new track from this week's episode then. So it's a different track than the previous one, but it has that same kind of instrumentation for the CMC. So I was really happy to see that kind of come back in this episode with all the other kind of callbacks to the previous CMC episodes in the new context of what their new rules are. Let's see. Let me find what the next track is here. Oops, went too far. You go back Let me see if there's anything in this track. I guess in this track here, when we have Big Mac Senior, I really like this score that they have behind him with the banjo. It's a score we've heard before for the Apple family quite a bit. Little wood blocks or clavicles there, which I always liked about this track. Let's see. I get a little bit of this 12-second track of Scootaloo music here for her scootering. And then we get to the point after the song where now we're getting into the main bulk of the episode here with Apple Bloom and the whole dancing thing. So start off here with Partnered Routine, which has this nice little theme for the dance studio at the beginning.
Let's see what we can do. We have a little cycle let's count the whole. It's not just open up. Let's have a little shine for the phone. not ready for anything I don't even do by myself. Oh, there.
And then we get to the tango here. And that was actually that track was actually first used and last used in the Simple Ways episode when they had the whole part there where Applejack was trying to parody Rarity with the Apple Jewel thing. So that was the theme that they used for that. So it's I guess it's just the apple dancing kind of tango motif there. So. And then we get to the next one where we start off. This next track here begins with the motif for the dance instructor. Like she kind of gets her own little motif here that is used for the dances through parts of the episode, and then it goes into another new motif that we have specifically for tender taps that's used a couple times in the episode as well. So last week we had a lot of themes brought back from Manhattan and stuff. This episode actually has a lot of new score and new themes. So let's get this one started.
I'm sorry, but doing stuff on my own is exactly what I don't want.
And here's Tender Tap's theme. And then we kind of go into a theme reprise here after this. Oops. There we go. So this next part of the theme to end this scene off as Apple Bloom's kind of walking away is a very kind of sad motif that we've heard a lot of times before. First, all the way back in season 3. In the next episode, we're talking about on our episode Flashback Games Ponies Play. And it's been used a couple times since then in season 4's Rainbow Falls and in season 5 in the Hofields and McColts. And the final score track of the season 5 finale as well, as Starlight Glimmer is talking to the main six. I believe it's right here. Okay, so we get to our next track here, and this is when Apple Bloom's going a little crick right here.
Oh, hello, girls. Have fun pursuing your What are you doing sitting in here?
Waiting to the end, because there's another theme at the end of this track here.
Wait, I never said that. I just said we don't have to do everything together. Like when there's something one of us wants to do that the others don't. Oh.
So this next track here was used at the end, at the very end of the season 6 premiere here, as Twilight was talking about Starlight on the train there with Spike at the very end. So get a nice little reprise of this theme here from that from the season premiere a few episodes ago.
I can't believe you not didn't want to hang out anymore. I can't believe you tried all this stuff and didn't find one thing you liked. Well, I'm kind of glad it.
That little theme right there was a little longer in the premiere there, and incorporated more of Starlight Glimmer's theme at the end.
Have fun. Being good doesn't always mean you will. I know. I'm the best dancer in the world, but he was so shy he couldn't bring
Okay,
himself
so next
even though he
Next is when Apple Bloom's confronting Tenderhooves again, and in this track, at the end of this track, we get another reprise of his motif from earlier in the episode there. Okay, then we probably get to the most recognizable part of the episode's score next, which is the score behind the whole dancing routine that takes place at the end of the episode. This really jazzy score with this really awesome baritone saxophone and some muted trumpet in the instrumentation here. And of course, this is also the track that is used in this episode's credits later on. So let's go ahead and play this. There's a nice little timpani intro here. So that was a really fun track. So a little bit different from a lot of the score we've gotten from the series before. So again, kind of going into some different musical genres here. Let's see, the final track of the episode here actually ends the episode with another kind of new ending theme that was first introduced in season 4. It's probably most recognizable, at least for me, from the season 4 episode where it was first used, which was testing 1, 2, 3 with Rainbow Dash. And it was used during the sequence at the very end where they kind of showed how Rainbow Dash learned all the stuff about the Wonderbolts in that episode, when they're doing kind of like the flyover and all the ponies are doing different things on the ground. It was first used in that, and then it's been used 2 times since then. It was also used in the season 4 episode Equestria Games in the end, kind of a shortened version of it, as Spike was giving his little monologue at the end of that episode. And then again in another Spike episode in season 5, and at the end of Princess Spike, where the first part was used twice. This is used in this episode is a kind of an extended version of the original from testing 1 through 3, where it repeats the original first half of the song twice and then goes to the second half. It also has some minor modifications where some of the instrumentation is dropped as Tender Toes and Apple Bloom are tap dancing on the screen there. So it'll start out with a different kind of little woodwind piece here, a choir piece, as Tender Taps is getting his cutie mark, and then it'll go into that motif. But here it starts. kind of takes us to the end of the episode there. And of course, we're 4 for 4 on not having the MLP theme in the credits again. So I'm guessing that's dead. Maybe we'll be surprised this weekend, but it seemed to be taking advantage of the fact that the credits are not being cut off and putting some of the music from the episode in the credits. So in this episode, they had a kind of a little shortened version of the of that jazzy dance music from the dance scene at the end of the episode there. iTunes is gonna kind of fade it out at the end there, but but yeah. So pretty much, I guess the instrumental MLP theme is dead. So I don't know. Maybe we didn't even hear the that theme in the end of the first half of the premiere, which we always hear the theme in the end of the first half. It's always the second half it has the different scores. So. I like it though because it gives us a little. It's not like the music that's being used in the credits is necessarily new music, but it's nice because you get a nice clean version of some of the 30 seconds of some of the motifs and music from the episode itself. So plus it fits the episode a little bit more and concludes it a little bit better. Like at the end, like last season, I think the best example of it would definitely be last season when he first started kind of doing this, and the Rarity Investigates episode where they had that really kind of slow film noir jazz. Music over the entire credits, and it really just helped that episode end in the correct mood that the rest of the episode was in. So it does help that rather than kind of jarringly going to the MLP theme.
That's part of the reason why I'm kind of upset that they kind of gotten rid of that is simply because of that just severe mood whiplash you get.
Hey, the end of the first part of the episode, they had the Flurry Heart score during the credits there, and that was still pretty mood whiplash.
It still was, yeah. It was.
That. It's like you had this really big build up to the to be continued, and then you have the Flurry Heart score motif there at the end, which I found hilarious. Oh. And that's all the music for this episode. So definitely a lot more going on musically with the song and also with all this new score in this one. Last week was a little bit less, mainly because it was Manhattan, so we had a lot of the returning themes in last week's episodes for all the Manhattan themes, which was nice. But this one offered a lot of new score and a lot of that new Cutie Mark Crusaders track, which I wish that sequence was longer. It's crazy. The original track from the from season 1 that I played before was like 3 minutes long. It's like one of the longest montages of and longest tracks of the entire longest single tracks of the entire series there. So kind of a little shortened version of it there, but definitely a lot of great score and music from this episode. So looking forward to what we have next week with it. I won't say anything more than it's a Spike episode. So we definitely usually have a lot more like heroic music with Spike and stuff. So I'm interested to see where they go with that, and maybe call back to some previous episodes that this episode might be relating to. Spike song? It'd be cool if Spike got a song next week.
I'm looking forward to this Saturday's episode. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just really don't know what to expect, but I'm assuming this is going to be a great episode as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I will say, we'll definitely have a full music episode. That's something that is pretty much happening now every season. It's kind of the thing for the show is they're going to have one musical episode of a season. So of course we started that out in season 3 with the finale being a musical, and then we had Pinky Pride in season 4. And then last season it was the Cutie Mark Crusaders episode. I'm kind of interested to see who's going to actually be the writer for this season's musical, because all the musical episodes in the past, barring that season 3 finale, which is written by M.A. Larson, were written by Amy Keating Rogers, who of course is now not on the show this season. So like season 4, we had the main musical, which was which was the Pinky Pride episode. But then we also had another episode that had a lot of music in it that season, season 4, which was the Philly Vanilli. And both of those were written by Amy Keating Rogers. And then last season we had the Cutie Mark Crusaders The Last Mark episode, which was the main musical episode. And then we also had the kind of like another episode that had a ton of music, which was the main attraction, of course, near the end. And of course, both of those were written by Amy Keating Rogers. So I'm kind of interested who's going to get the musical episode this season, since they seem to be pretty set on doing at least one, actually, like official musical episode. And Ingram did mention that, kind of like when he was talking about the last season's ones, like our musical episode of this season, it was this one. So kind of interesting to see who writes it, and more importantly, what it's going to focus on and what character it'll focus on, because we kind of got a Pinky episode and then we have a CMC episode. So maybe Starlight or maybe Spike, who knows. So okay, let me close this out. And we can go to our next thing. The theme and the moral of the episode. What does everyone kind of think about this episode's moral and theme?
I suppose the theme would probably be
Pretty much, I think one of them was it's okay for friends not to spend 100% of the time together, and friends are going to have different interests and want to do things on their own.
And funny we're bringing that up. That also was also kind of a moral they also touched on last season too.
So
with the Nightmare Night episode, because I think we brought that up in Fluttershy at the end of that.
Well, I think it was more relatable to last season's Discord episode, which also focused on friends being able to have other friends and doing stuff, with different interests as well. Although this one's a lot more focused on doing stuff on your own versus with other people, like that one was. So it's okay. And that's something that I think that a lot of people, most people can relate to. That you're not always going to be together with your friends all the time, and at some point, there's also this message about having to move on and to do stuff on your own. And really, a lot of this episode and that message has to do with more specifically about growing up, which is something else that they seem to be focusing on with the CMC this season. Then is again growing up. And, a lot of times you got to do stuff on your own and find stuff that you personally are interested in going forward. And I think another secondary episode that came into play at the end, another secondary lesson that came in at the end of the episode from Sweetie Belle and Scootaloo was, you don't have to be good at something to have fun doing it. It's okay to do something because you enjoy doing it, even if you're not that good at it. If you enjoy doing something, you should do it, even if you're not necessarily that talented of it. Maybe you can keep if you enjoy it, maybe you can keep trying it and get better, and maybe eventually become good at it. And then on the flip side, it's also doesn't mean just because you're good at something doesn't mean it's something you're going to enjoy doing, or something that you're going to want to do as your job. You might enjoy doing it, but it's not. You might be good at doing it, but you might not actually enjoy it. Enjoy it even if you're good at it, which is also a nice little secondary lesson that's very relatable and a good lesson to learn.
And I do also note that I don't think we touched on this, but this was also an issue with stage fright as well.
Correct. Yeah.
So, that was, I think a moral that could also probably be taken from this is, basically just channel Shia LaBeouf and just do it.
Don't worry, Apple Bloom really sucks at it, so you won't be as bad comparison.
So yeah, I say. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, you take a risk, take chances, get messy, make mistakes. Don't be a dick.
There, you found a reason to fit it in now.
I was going to say, it doesn't really apply. It's going to be a little harder to fit that in this episode.
It doesn't, but I had to.
You found a way.
Don't be a Bloom.
I guess don't be a dick to your friends just because they're doing stuff on their own. Okay, so final favorite parts and any concerns for this episode?
Let's see. Favorite parts here. I suppose one of my favorite parts was probably just the random male yodeling from the female fillies. Just
The
kind of came out
the
of
grown-up male yodeling from the young female fillies, yes.
that just sort of came out of from left field. She-hugger nude modeling is also another one. Just the sheer irony of it all.
I still can't believe that was in this show. Even
They
though
got
they're
away
already
with that,
nude.
too.
I mean, they're always nude, but still, I mean, that's obviously what they were referencing here. Which was
The hippie nude
hilarious.
model. The hippie nude modeling.
Yeah, exactly. Gosh, I really liked. I did like in the end, even though it's not something I was expecting. I did like the focus on one of the CMC in this episode and kind of how they're setting up to maybe do more of that this season, and how they did still work in having the CMC help someone get a cutie mark in this episode at the same time, which is I think what at least I was expecting. I think a lot of people were expecting an episode where, focusing on the CMC and them trying to roll with their new destiny in life. But it kind of took a little turn in the middle there, and had that focus on Apple Bloom and this focus on doing stuff on your own and focusing on the three as characters, as individuals, and how they don't have, maybe not even have a lot in common in their interests other than their cutie marks. You're getting their cutie marks. So it was a nice thing to see seen explored, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully having more kind of individually focused CMC episodes this season as well. As well as more episodes, with them helping other fillies with their talents. Really, the only concern I had with this episode was really just it was kind of some of the parts of the plot just seemed unnecessary that didn't need to be there and could have been cut off and offered a little bit of some jarring responses, like when, like I said earlier, when Apple Bloom's like, oh, okay, I didn't realize you I didn't realize you didn't mean we would always be apart. I don't know, it seemed unnecessary, and it was just kind of, I don't know, it was awkward, but very minor thing. It did take me a few watch throughs to really appreciate what this episode was, but Polsky and Haber did a really good job tackling this right away and turning it into something I didn't really expect, which was good. It was different from what I was expecting going in, and I enjoyed it. So yeah, final overall feelings and conclusions from everyone.
It was a pretty good episode. I like seeing these CMC episodes. Looking forward to next week's Spike episode. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they're gonna do a Spike episode this season here. So I think this is the first Spike-centered episode season 6 is gonna have. So just looking forward to seeing how this is gonna be pulled off. So.
And yeah, like what everyone's saying in chat here too about that. That's another thing I enjoyed was again exploring each of the CMC's talents separately, because it's something we've seen little hints at throughout the series. From all the way back in Showstoppers to Twilight Time in season 4, and really getting to see them as individuals, and really how they're and seeing what their individual talents and interests are. And I did like that was explored more front and center in this episode rather than in the background like we've seen in previous episodes. So yep, I guess I don't have anything else more to say. So yeah, thank you so much for coming to this for today's Triple E. For on your marks, and of course next week we will be discussing the new episode, the new Spike based episode, Gauntlet of Fire, which that's quite the episode name there. So Of course, that'll be premiering this Saturday at 11:30. We'll be chatting about it here, and we'll be back here next week, next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, to discuss that episode here on Triple E. And of course, if you want, if you go to our front page of our website, we do have our discussion forums there, and we do have a link in the quick links on the right-hand side of the front page that will link you to our current episode discussion on this episode on your marks. So if you have any additional things, or if you just want to put your thoughts down on the episode in writing, or see what other people are thinking about it and respond, you can go ahead and click on that and go under episode discussion on your marks, and discuss away there. And we also have our speculation episode discussion on this weekend's episode linked there as well. And also, if you go to our speculation forum there, if you want to talk about it, we do have speculation discussions on a few of the other episodes that are upcoming, including one that was just announced today as well, on Zaptwit. So if you're curious about that, we have that linked as one of our discussions in our spoilers discussion forum, which is also linked to on the from the front page there. So take a look at that. And as always, if you ever miss a Triple E episode and want to see what we were talking about, we do have our Triple E archives, which are linked in our nav bar under Equine Episode Examination there, under the Shows tab. So if you want to explore, you can see all of our previous episodes. Don't have all of them up, so we're still working on getting a lot of the older ones up, but we do have the more recent ones up. They might take anywhere from 2 to 7 days to process, depending on how many things we have in our queue for Zipcast. But if you ever want to do that, we got there. And we also have a comment section directly under the video on our page, so if you want to leave your thoughts on what we discussed in that episode of Triple E, and you weren't here to do it, or you maybe forgot something, you can post it there as well. So make sure you check out the archives on that if you ever want to see Triple E again, or if you miss an episode. So thank you so much for joining us today, everyone, and we'll make sure to see you next week for Gauntlet of Fire.